reading on page 62, and then we'll open it up for some questions. Okay, well, at the first full paragraph on page 62, Paul.
All right. I think I'm missing that page, but go ahead. I can listen to you.
All right. You've heard it before, I'm sure. Selfish self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. We step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some time in the past, we have made decisions based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. So our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot, though he doesn't usually think so. Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us. God makes that possible, and there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without his aid. Many of us had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them even though we had liked to. Neither could we have reduced our self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on our own willpower. We had to have God's help. All right, Paul.
Great, Michael. Hey, welcome, everybody. Good morning. Well, right there in the middle of the reading, it says above everything. So that means it's quite important, yes? Above everything, and then what follows? We alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. And there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self. So obviously, we can't be that which we can get rid of, yes? Yet, when you're feeling or living from a sense of self, there's the feeling, and really a stubborn one, of it's you, yes? But he's making it clear that self can be gotten rid of, yeah? Now, sometimes people are driven to such a point, the only way they can feel of getting rid of self is killing themselves, yes? Because of the identification as self. So it's so much that they think the whole ship's got to go down, yeah? Because of that lack of understanding. So they truly believe that which is talking to them is them. And there's no way out, obviously. So self can't get out of self. So it goes to an extreme measure and someone takes their life or something, yes? But here, it's obviously, if you could get rid of something, it's obviously not you. It's not an essential aspect of you, yes? Just to get a clear understanding, because they flip in and out. They recognize something in the book and then they go back to the idea it's us, yeah? But the sentences are taken separately, are very clear. And I don't know how much more, that one paragraph, they have self about 7 times in like 6 sentences. So it's selfishness, self-centeredness too, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity. We step on our toes, on whatever, and then it says we made a decision based on self. So in that one paragraph, there's 6 selves, 6 statements of self. I mean, obviously, how can we not see it? Yeah. And that self can be rid of. So doesn't it sound like you could basically read this and have a sense that it's you? So yeah, selfishness, self-centeredness, I'm doing that, yes? I'm selfish and self-centered, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion, self-seeking and self-pity. So do I see it as self-pity or do I see it as me being pitiful, yes? Do I see it as seeking, self-seeking? No, I see it as I'm seeking, yeah? There's an identification as the problem. That's the problem. Yeah. So we can be rid of it. But if you're taking yourself to be something, you're never going to get to the point of realizing you can be rid of it. This is what happened with me personally, an experience. I don't know, maybe 7 years of sobriety. I don't know exactly when, but it was a turning point where I was reading page 64, 2 pages later, and being convinced self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. I saw self as other. And as soon as I saw self as other, clearly the possibility of being free from it or being rid of it became available. And it told me why the possibility of free from it or getting rid of it wasn't available, because I was trying to get rid of it as it. Yeah. I was caught in that statement, self can't get out of self, because the exact nature of the wrong is the act of being identified as self. Yeah. So when we hear selfishness, self-seeking, we think we're selfish. No, it's selfishness doing itself, which is selfishness. Yeah. But we're identified, so now I'm the one who's selfish. Yeah. I'm the one who's in fear. No, it's fear. Yeah. It's self-fear. It says it right there. Drew, when we look at the fourth step, the fourth column is self-seeking and frightened, yes? So it doesn't say self-seeking, period, frightened. It says self-seeking and frightened. They go hand in hand. And it goes right back to the diagnosis. Why are we in so much fear today? Isn't it because self-reliance has failed us? Yes? So identifying or relying on self has failed us. Why would we continue to rely on it unless there's a hook or some way it hooks us, which is the act of being identified as it? So we want to get out of it, but the only way we can look at getting out of it is as it, which is the bondage of self. Yes? So you're hoping for something to be different, as that which is always going to be the same leads you to a fucking incomprehensible, demoralized state. You can't get out of this freaking thing. Yeah. So we need something to help us get rid of self. Yes. Can you abandon you? No. But can you abandon self? Yes. Because self is not you. Yeah. Just like I could abandon a car because I can get out of the car. I'm not the car. I cannot abandon me. Yeah. I'll still be there. Yeah. So this whole idea is it's abandoning self. We abandon self. This idea. Yeah. We get rid of it. We don't do it, but there's a getting rid of it. What happens? What does it look like? You lose interest in it. That's how it looks. Yeah. You're getting rid of it is you lose interest in it. Can self lose interest in self? No, it can't. That's self-interest. So what happens? I feel it's supremely important to have the exact nature of the wrong clear. That which is defeating us is not us. Okay, start there. So then that there's a possibility of being free from that defeat. If you keep calling it you, you're going to be defeated by that you. Yeah. You were, and you will be, and you are. Yeah. So when it says defeat has, self has defeated us, it's not just in the past tense. It's in the present tense, and it's projected into a future tense. Yes? This is our humble presentation. This changed everything for me in this program. Yeah? I swear to God, the possibility of being free from it did not come before I saw I wasn't it. It came after I saw it wasn't it. Before I was trying to be free as self. When I saw self as foreign, I was now in the process of being free from self. That's worked. Yes. It hasn't needed a correction for what, 27 years. Yeah, it's correct. Yes. There's my humble offering. That's all. We're not trying to rejuvenate the steps or fucking, synthesize them with something else and make them extreme steps, like yoga postures, and then you do your third step or whatever. That's fine and dandy. We're looking at the exact nature of the wrong. Yeah. And I feel it's just an act of being identified as self, and you're not doing it. The head is doing it, and we take it to be us. Yeah. That's simple as that. Yes. The head is doing it. You're not doing it. Yeah. There is no self that's selfing. There's selfing that implies a self. Yeah. You are not the origin. You are not the causation. This is what I disagree with when it says so our troubles we think are basically of our own making. I believe they're basically of self's making. Yeah. I do not see that we manufacture misery. I see we're a factory, so to speak, and who's ever running the factory is going to be the one who decides what products are going to be made. So when self is running the factory of our life, it produces misery. Unfortunately, when we see the misery, we call it ours. Yes? Because of the act of being identified as self. So now we have more burden, realizing who wants to see a lot of shit if it means you're the cause of it. That's most of our day. We're trying to avoid that. Yes, we believe we fucked everything up, so we're trying to watch movies and do shit like that to somewhat get a little momentary reprieve from it. Yes. Who wants to do a fearless inventory if it's going to reveal that I'm doing a whole lot more shit than I thought I was doing? Yeah. But no, it's not you that's doing it. That's the good news. Yes. Remember, it says self, singular, has defeated us, collective. Yeah. We are the collective that seemingly has been defeated by self. Now, I would think it would be valuable for the collective to realize the singularity of the problem, because the problem produces a real sense of personalness when it's truly impersonal. Yeah. Many of us have the same fucking failed system. We have the same GPS that take us to the same places, institution, jails, and death. You got to recognize there's something going on. Yeah. I mean, if we all end up in similar places, we must have the same driver. Yeah. How is this escaping our attention? Is because it has a camouflage, so it can defeat us right out in the open by our being identified as the one who has defeated us. Yes. Wow, it's insane. What a slavery. So yeah. It's beautiful reading. It's out of the book. The pages are falling out of this book. Yeah. So I'm going to just read it again. Selfishness, self-centeredness. Where does it say you? Selfishness, self-centeredness. That we think is the root of our troubles. It doesn't say Paul and Mary. That's what we think is the root of our troubles, does it? No. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. So four things, and 3 of them have self in it. Then you go to page 67. Why you're in so much fear is self-reliance. So it's a bingo. You won the roulette thing. I mean the arm thing. Ding, ding, 4 pineapples. Driven by 100 forms. So it doesn't seem like you're the driver, are you? It says driven. So driven by 100 forms of self, really, yeah? defeated by its manifestation. So they're the 100 forms of self that have defeated us by their manifestations in our life. Yes? We step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us seemingly without provocation. But we invariably find that at some point in the past, we have made decisions based on self. So we is different than self, yes? We have made decisions based on self. So we, the collective, have made decisions based on a singularity called self. Yeah? That's why we usually end up at the same places. We're not deciding things from the as a collective. We're living a decision based on self. Yeah. But we have made decisions based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. Now, I had living examples of this on a practical level in my first few years of sobriety that blew my mind. I was starting to be brought back to my role in things. It was incredible. I was so far dismissed of seeing my role in things. Yeah. And now it's starting to become clear. And when you see your role in things, you're going to see self's role in things. You are. If there's an avoidance of your role in things, you believe it's you, but it's actually self trying to hide out. Self does not want us to do an inventory because you're going to see its role in things. Yeah. You're going to see that many, many, many decisions that you thought you had and suffered the consequences of were based on self. We have all the evidence. Maybe you need a little understanding as the ignition key. Well, here's the ignition key. Yes? It's self that has defeated us. So our troubles, we think we basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves. See, I would say they arise out of self. Yeah? And our troubles are basically of self's making. That's how I see it. Yeah. We are an extreme example of self-will run riot, though we usually don't think so. Why? Because the disease has camouflaged us from recognizing it. Yes. So even though everyone knows we're fucked up, we don't seem to think so. It's incredible, really. Above everything, above everything, above everything. That means this is most primo point. Yeah? We alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. You want to get rid of selfishness? Lose interest in self. How do you lose interest in self? Is admit you can't. Yeah? Do some service, do some shit, and you'll find that you've lost interest in self. And then these things that seem totally incapable or impossible will start being observed as happening. Yes? Above everything, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us. Wow. It seems like it's of supreme importance, yes? God makes that possible. Wow. And there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without his aid, or its aid. Many of us had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them, even though we would have liked to. I've met a lot of drunk Buddhists. I have. Yeah. I have. I've met a lot of drunk Kabbalists. I've met a lot of people who had a lot of philosophies, but it wasn't working in this one topic, which is uncontrolled alcoholism or addiction, yes? Many of us had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but we could not live up to them, even though we would have liked to. Neither could we reduce our self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on our own power. That's pretty good. Yeah. We have to have God's help. There was a guy, I got a message. This was years ago. There was a Western guy that was a Buddhist teacher, and he had a large following. I think he was up in Oregon and stuff, and he was bipolar. Yeah. And one of his early things he wrote was he believed that the Buddhism was going to cure him of the bipolar. And what happened is, when he had a bipolar episode, he'd have to take painkillers or whatever. So he ended up dying, overdosing on the streets of Seattle or something. Yeah, based on this misunderstanding that Buddhism was going to cure this situation. Yes, it was beautiful, really, a beautiful example. This is the how and why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. Yeah. Good luck with that. But you can see that which is playing God is not you. You can see that. You can see that which is playing God is not you. You can see it because you're not it. You can actually see it. There's no void and then self appears. You're that which is before self, yes, in a sense. You see self appearing. It's called selfing. You see the playing God, which is selfing. Yeah. And unfortunately, many of us see the selfing and see that which is playing God as a self. And therefore, we're bound by that playing God, and we're bound by that selfing. Yeah. So there is a solution. Hasn't it worked? I know some of you. I'm looking at some of you right now on the Zoom, and I know I've seen the change in your facial structure from hearing this good news and an ease and comfort setting in, because the battle royale was called off. Yes. And now you're sober and life's going on. And there you have it. There was no heavy lifting really necessary, was there? No. You had all the evidence you needed. You just had to hear the key. Maybe this will be it for you. I don't know. It was with me. Yeah. And, when it comes to recovery, it's been the last answer. It was revealed in my 7th year, maybe, and I'm 34 years sober now. So it's been a long ride, riding on the coattails of this message. Yeah. Yeah. And, the daily experience is the problem does not exist as me. Yeah. I don't think that's a unique experience, really, or a unique state while you're experiencing. Yeah. I think it's one of the promises. It says it, the problem will not exist for you. Yeah. You'll be placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. The problem will not exist for you. Yes. Yeah. So, yep. It goes on and on, obviously. Someday maybe we'll check it out. They probably could do something and see how many times they use the word self in the first 164 pages. I bet you it's way more than the word God. Definitely. Yes. Because we're talking about the older God, which is self, and we're going to experience the new God, which is the higher power. Yeah. Old employer, new employer. Perhaps there's a better way, trusting the infinite rather than finite self. Yeah. 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 So, yeah. Anyone else, Mike? Anybody?
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Good morning. You have a question for Paul today or a small comment? Come on in. Glad to have you. Yeah, Greta, come on in. Am I saying it right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, alcoholic. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Greta, how are you?
I'm okay, thanks. I heard you. I was on your thing last night too, and I recently was reminded about you, and because I used to go to your meetings actually years ago in San Francisco at Lake and Arguello, like
Yeah.
10 years ago. And I've been hold on. Echo, shut down. Sorry. My technology started playing music. Sorry. Um anyway, I've been sober 15 years. And kind of like you said, like, you know, we want to throw it all away and sink the ship with everything. And that's how I felt 2 months ago. I wanted to either just, I was sinking and I was done. I was done with uh, life and sobriety. And, but I didn't pick up and I didn't take my life. So, but that's what I wanted to do because I just felt hopeless again. And so I went to your site, and because I need to do something different because I'm not being relieved with I'm not being relieved of self, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting. Praying, meditating, going to AA every day it's helped and kept me sober and brought me back into recovery, but and I have a support system. I'm in the middle of the boat. But I needed something else, and I looked at your site and was like self. And I remember you from a long time ago and how like the perspective is different, and it helped me back then. And so anyway, what I'm getting from what you're saying today is self is not necessarily me, but it's this, you, as you said, a foreign object, and it's separate from who I am. Because when I think of who I am and I think I'm selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, I tend to beat down on myself, you know.
Yeah.
It really kind of fucks me up because I'm not in a place where I can be like, oh, God's got me, you know, I'm okay, because I'm still in a bad state of mind. So um I don't really have a question. I guess I just want confirmation that what I heard that helped me, that you said, is that self is this foreign object and it's selfing me, but it's not who I am.
Yes. Yes. That's what we're putting out there. Other than, but it's not a foreign object. It's not a thing. It's an activity. Yeah. It's an activity derived out of the mental processes. Like where it says in our AA diagnosis, the problem resides in the mind. Yes? So this problem of self resides in the mind. Yes. So it's mental, it's produced and reinforced by the mental activity. And we find ourselves quite relied on the mental activity because we take ourselves to be the center of that activity called self. So, yeah, we're living in a self centered condition and we're suffering the consequences of that. And that drive to get relief is handcuffed because we're identified as the problem. So we try to get relief from self as self. That's why it's not working. Yeah. And then it leads to some serious situations at times. Yeah. Because that seemingly hopeless state seems hopeless. Yeah, it's not appearing to be a true or false to you. It's taken to be true. Yeah, and then for decisions based on self can become extreme. Yeah, but if you go back to one of the first preambles of the AA book, they say we are 100 men who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state. And seemingly means it appears to be true or false to us. So this is truly we're the yay or the nay of the whole play, so to speak. We're like the audience, and either we're given an up or a down. Yes. So the play by directed by self would be trusting the finite self. The AA presentation is, hey, there's a better way, trusting the infinite. Yeah. So the audience can go either way. It can lean towards the infinite and it can lean towards the self, so to speak. Yes. And the effects are going to be manufactured through those lenses, either through self's lens or higher power lens. Yes. And then you're going to react and observe that. Yeah. And AA presented a better way, which is trusting the infinite rather than finite self. So we tell the truth about the trust in finite self, yeah, see where it's taken us, and then now hopefully you're listening to K Greta or K Paul with a healthy suspicion and realizing most of the shit being presented is truly false evidence, yeah, and it's on me to have it appear real or not. And so basically you start seeing the false evidence, and before it appears real there's a pause that can may cause you to see it as false evidence, so it doesn't go through its next like incubation of appearing real and then decisions based on that. Yeah. So you stop the selfing in its tracks just by seeing, just by awareness, because that is the quality it sorely lacks. Yeah. Yes. It's that's the one quality that's what we are. We are awareness. Yeah. And we can become aware of the presentation of self in the head from that position of awareness, not as self. Yes. We're listening to a lot of shit about self as self. That's insane. We're now going to hear that, and the listening will get broken. Listening is much different than hearing. Listening is you're ready for the next orders. Hearing is the birds chirping and shit. Yes. So you start hearing the head, not listening to it. Yeah. And if you fall into anything, just go to the ready. Just service is such a beautiful, easy way to get out of this imaginary place from the clutches of self by just doing service. You'll have a feeling of being bigger and available, just like the sense of higher power is. Yeah. So I recommend that. If it gets, don't keep saying you're not in the shit if you're in the shit. Yeah. If you keep saying there's no shit, but you keep seeing the flies circling, just do something. Follow the flies. And yeah. And there's all these skillful means we have in the program and recovery that can give you that immediate release of that pressure that's building. Yes? Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, I see it as a foreign pathogen, just any way you can image it as not you. And therefore, that which is selfish and self-centeredness is self. Yeah. Yeah. It is. I mean, that's why it's called selfishness, self-centeredness. It's of self. Yeah. 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 So we're not of self. The whole point of the recovery is to have us a spiritual condition. Well, I believe the spiritual condition is inherent. I think that's our condition. What we need is a way to maintain a mental condition that's not insane a day at a time. And relying on the spiritual condition is how you maintain a good mental condition, not through mental conditions. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, nice to see you again. I'm remembering now in Lake Inaguelo.
Yeah,
Beautiful church, that place. Yeah.
it was nice. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that
good
building
stuff.
was awesome. I'd like to maybe start doing it once a month, maybe back there if I could. All right, thanks,
Thank
everyone
you.
else. Yep.
I don't see any other hands up right now, Paul.
This is just it's like when you're applying a new understanding, trust the process. Yes, trust the process. Don't leave before the miracle. It's like you never know what straw is going to break the camel's back, but it will break its back. Yes, I believe recovery progresses like the disease does. I do, and by hearing this, it makes it more familiar, and then it doesn't seem to be such an exotic posture. You start falling into that posture of having a very healthy suspicion while the radio station is broadcasting. Yeah, yeah. See, the same propaganda Paul is hearing is the same propaganda that Greta hears. It's just caught with the name with the idea of Paul and Greta. That makes it personal, but it's basically the same shit everyone's hearing. Yes, yeah, different nouns and locations, but it's the same, really. Yeah. How it defeats us is this personalness, really. We have to see that it isn't personal. A parasite doesn't have it out for you. It doesn't. It needs you. It needs your life. It doesn't have its own. Yeah. So this is an incredible parasitical movement. It's fell upon a pretty good strategy, which is to convince the host that it's the host. Yeah. So therefore, the parasite has a security because it's never going to be thrown off by the host because the host thinks it's the parasite. Yeah. So the parasite has a fucking field day. Yeah. And it plays God. It does. It plays out. It uses our godlike juice to play God with. Yeah. Yeah. That's why we need something like a higher power. It's like a little dog masquerading as the big dog. It could probably continue to do that unless you introduce a big dog to it. And then you realize it'll roll over because it's the small dog. Yeah. So the big dog in this imagery is the higher power. Yeah. Of the program. Yeah. So thanks. Anyone? Thank you, Greta, and everyone.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Greg.
And yeah. Just stay in touch with people and yeah.
Yeah, Greta, Paul holds these talks every Tuesday and Thursday at this time. So please come back. Okay, Paul, next up we have Oliver. Oliver, come on in.
And you can come on Saturday in Marin. We are live. We have a 1:00 talk in Marin City Saturdays.
Is that
Yeah.
in person?
Yes, it's in person. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's on the website. Every
Thank you.
Saturday we have it in Marin City, right over the bridge. Yeah.
I have another quick question.
All
The
right.
parasite thing that you just described, is that kind of like what your website's talking about, like the mushroom that goes on the ant?
Yeah, we're
And then
using those examples in nature, but we're talking about obviously a non-thing parasitical movement. Yes. Yes. So it's very similar. Yeah, the ant gets taken over by the mushroom and then is used for transportation, and then the mushroom grows out of it after it arrives where it wanted to go. It sounds like a Friday night when I was in active addiction. Basically, that's something drove me places, and it. Yeah, so that's what it means. Yes, I like the idea of parasites in nature because our arrogance causes us not to recognize the diagnosis. Yeah, because we think, "Oh, it's me all the time," and we're never taken over by anything. But we've been the transportation for alcoholism or addiction quite a lot, and yes, yes. So it's funny how much the self-centeredness keeps us from seeing the activeness of the disease, so to speak. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's why we like to use the imagery. And then people would send me articles about parasites in nature, the cordyceps, and then there's tons of them. They're really incredible. What's going on? Yeah. So it sure sounded like addiction to me. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Greta. All right, next up we have Oliver. Oliver, come on in.
Oliver.
Hello. Hi. Sorry, it's me again. So I got a question about.
Wait a minute, Oliver. Drop
Huh?
that sorry. It's me again.
It is
Yeah,
me again.
don't bring that shit in here. Just drop that sorry. You're not imposing anyone on anybody.
I don't know. I just wanted to sound like. Never mind.
Yeah.
This might sound like a why question or where does it come from question. So I guess that's why I apologize in advance. So uh, we kind of more or less agree on, the self doesn't want us to see the problem. And it sounds at that moment when we say it so plainly and kind of in a simple manner that self is something volitional that has its own will, like its entity that has its own will. I know it's, not what you're saying, but it kind of, that's what's happening in, should I say, a combination with us or in cooperation with us. Otherwise, it cannot happen, right? So that seeming volitional moment where it doesn't want us to see the problem, it doesn't, want to be seen. And but what kind of came into my mind is, isn't this selfing an activity that is simply happening in the absence or a seeming absence of awareness of or God or higher power? Yeah. So.
But see, it isn't really because there is an awareness of it, but then the static of the mental state scrambles that message. That's why when you finally see clearly, the possibility of seeing clearly was always available at all times. It's just that something unscrambled the static and then it became clear. Yes. So my feeling, what happens in recovery is the mental state is diminished, and then something that's always been there becomes more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
When the mental state is emphasized, it seems to be a lot of shit without knowing. Yeah. But the awareness is still there. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So let's say if you were on the planet and you were a thing and you wanted to get some sun, and the amount of sun you would get would be based on the clouds, really. If there was clouds, you're not going to get the sun. Yes. Yeah. So the cloud would have an influence. Now, what would happen if you realize maybe you're on the sun side? You would still see the cloud, but the cloud would not have the ability to block you off from the sun. Yes. So it's our position that gives the cloud the ability to block us off from the sun. It doesn't have the ability to block us off from the sun. It's based on our position. And this is sort of what happens in recovery. You move to a different basis or a different position, which is trusting the infinite. And now you can see clearly what used to be scrambled. Yes? Yeah. Because the ability to see clearly is there. What happens is it's being directed through like an asteroid belt or static, and so it gets scrambled. Yes? And now it sees something in a fractured way, but the seeing is pure and clear. What happens is there's a lowering of the static and the scrambling, and now things are coming clearly. Like in Zen, they would say you're seeing blue as blue and red as red. Yeah, yeah. The clarity is there. I humbly believe that clarity is always available. It's more the static or the scrambling, or when the mental state is getting overemphasized, there seems to be a lack of awareness. Is there a lack of awareness? No. There's awareness completely, but there seems to be a lack of awareness that coincides with an overemphasis of the mental activities. Yeah? Yeah. So that's the scrambling and shit. And then when that gets weakened, the light gets sort of doesn't get waylaid or directed. It sees things. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Mhm. But would you consider it to be like a healthy perspective on things, on this issue, that, you know, selfing only occurs in combination or in cooperation with us? Otherwise, there's no
Oh, of course.
such thing or activity.
We're the like the natural resource. We're the light. Yes, definitely. Every play or every mini movie or any syndicated show that's getting lit up is by us. Yes. Not us as a singularity, but as what we are. Yeah. It's like the unspoken, unseen audience. Yeah. Some people would call it the witness or the observer. I don't like titles. So you could say witnessing and observing. That which is witnessing and observing doesn't have in a weird way, doesn't have a dog in the hunt. Yeah. It just sees everything. So, yeah. The reliance on the head has us living an interpretation other than the event. Yeah. So that to me is an addiction. And it's not our addiction. It's the mental state being addicted. But we're relying on the mental state, so it seems like it's us being addicted. Yeah? Yeah?
Right, right. It's just sometimes it
Yeah.
seems, you know, sometimes I lose that perspective, you know, that self on its own doesn't have life in it, you know, and
No, it
volition.
doesn't. Yes. And
Yeah.
that's all right. It doesn't, I mean, the whole thing is to lose interest in the one that thought it lost the perspective, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what allows the perspective is a lack of a one who has the perspective. Because if you're the one who has the perspective, you can be the one that loses it. That's the duality of this event. Yes? Yeah.
Right.
If you're the clear seer, you're going to be unclear seeing. Once the identification occurs, it sets up a two-ness. Yeah. You believe you achieved an exalted state. You also believe you can lose the exalted state. You can't get just one of the bargain. It's a double deal. Yeah. So yeah. Just hear the perspective. Don't have the perspective. Hear it. In hearing the perspective, humbly, it's better than having the perspective. Hearing, yes, because it's coming from us, this perspective. It's not to be had by us, it's coming from us. Yeah. Yeah. I don't care what the noun thinks it has or doesn't have. I just don't. It doesn't serve the experience of the day. I'm just here because I can't be anywhere else. It's just that simple. Yeah. It's just, I've had a sober assessment that I'm not getting out of here as here. Yeah. That is the great wisdom of no escape. I can't escape from an imaginary event. It's impossible. So this is dreaming, and wake me up when it's over. Yeah, so that's just, how it is now.
Thanks very much.
I don't sit around polishing perspectives. I just don't. Yeah, I some stuff many things get blown by the wind, but a number of things are going to stay, and they're going to be the new basis. Yeah, you won't be looking to the ground to get an assurance you're on stable ground. You're going to act as if you're on stable ground. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's reliable. Who would have thought? Yeah. Do you understand that the characteristics and the condition of Oliver and Paul is truly based on what Oliver and Paul are built on? Yeah. Is it a reliable foundation, or is it a shaky foundation? Yeah. Recovery says addiction thrives in a shaky foundation, and that the root of the problem is self, not drinking and using. Yeah. And when there's a seeing of that, and you get established in another way, which is trusting the infinite, which will prove to be quite reliable, your behaviors and your characters, whatever you want to call them, they're not yours, but those things are going to change. And all that is needed is to see that the old story can't change with it. It's got to be lost in a sense, because you're thinking about you in a 1984 modality, which is you're not that. Even as an appearance, you're not that. So a truly reliable basis frees you to look at the stars. You don't have to keep looking to make sure it's okay. The okayness reverberates, and now you can see other shit. Yes? Yeah. So yeah, we use the idea of self as a foreign thing because before that is the identification as self. That's the reason why. I believe the real activity of alcoholism is rooted in and the act of being identified as self. We're not saying it's you or I in the act. There's just an act of being identified as self that keeps getting reinforced and implied, and the attention keeps getting brought back to that identification as self. Yeah. So it occurs through selfing. And for me, that is important, so that you recognize something that you've been calling you is other, because that's what's causing a lot of the discontent and irritability and restlessness. Yeah. And then get on with living after that clears up. Yeah. Yeah. You will find out as an experience, as an observation, that you don't get gypped. You're here all the time. Here completely. Yeah. There's no part of you that's not here, even though it says so. Yeah. You're here completely. It's awesome in a lot of ways. You'll feel everything though. I feel tons of shit from my big toe on my right foot. Yeah. Maybe I'd like to have those station relays broken, but hey, this is part of being awake in a sense. You feel a lot of stuff. Yeah. The discriminating committee has been fired, and shit just comes through. Yeah. If you actually attempted to describe how you are right now, it would be impossible. Yeah? Because the second you moved away from what you just talked about through your observation, it would change. It just goes on and on and on. What doesn't change is the awareness of it all. Yeah. I would say that's us. We were talking about it last night. Why you can see everything going, coming and going is because you're always here. You're not of that which comes and goes. So you can see that which comes and goes. You're not of it. The awareness saw you coming as a baby and will see you leaving as an old man. Hallelujah. It's cool. Yes. So nice. Thanks, Olive. Is that all right? You want to keep exploring?
That's nice. Thank you.
All right, good.
All right. Well, hey, Paul, we have one more question that came through the chat, and I'm going to read it for you. It goes, do we take the impersonal path when seeing we are relying on a mental interpretation? What do we rely on when we are unsure?
Can you say that again, Mike?
Yeah.
Mike.
Do we take the impersonal path when seeing we are relying on a mental interpretation? What do we rely on?
Well, yes. Well, I wouldn't call it an impersonal path. I think the true state is completely impersonal. Yeah. So let's just say you're seeing it from there. Yeah, that gives you the ability to see what you're not. Yeah. Yeah. So you see the selfing from what you are. Yeah. Yes. All right. Can you go on? So.
Okay. So the second part of the question was, what do we rely on when we are unsure?
If you're unsure, you're relying on self, probably. Which you should be unsure. That would be the appropriate response. Or trying to rely on the infinite from the finite self. There would be a sense of unsureness, yes, for sure.
Okay.
That were the first dog whistles that were going off when I got into recovery. A lot of these great ideas I used to just follow I started to become unsure of them. What's going on? Yeah, that was the migration from the trusting the finite to the infinite. Yeah. See, sometimes when there's a new way, and one foot still in the old way will definitely voice up an unsureness of the new way, because it doesn't want to lose its position in one level. Yeah, it doesn't want to be relegated to a minor god when it's been used to playing God. But then you judge the tree by the fruits. Yeah, you've followed certain things, and then you realize they've worked, and then I feel the action figure learns, and it learns to recognize how the wind's blowing, so to speak. Yeah, yeah. All right, Mike, is there anything else on there?
Yeah, we have a couple more. We have Jack wants to come in and ask a question real quick. Come on in, Jack. And then we have one more after Jack.
Hey, Paul,
Hey,
you already kind of touched on it. A question I've been thinking about since yesterday, because of the my physical condition. And I was wondering if you could expound on that a little more, about the non-dual idea and health and the physical,
yeah. Well, I don't know if it's
being
a
in pain
non-dual
and stuff.
idea, but yeah, the non-dual wouldn't be your health. So in a way, there's health, but it isn't your health. In my own experience, now waking up, my condition, physical condition, could be maybe passable or terrible. It could be, I have no idea what it is, but I have faith. I just get up and see what happens. Yeah. And so far, so good. So I believe for many things, you find a certainty in the uncertainty of it all. And there's a peace there. Yes. So, but I don't know about the non-dual approach. Yeah.
Well, maybe I said it wrong. Maybe what I'm trying to say is that the physical condition seems to want to bind me more to the idea of self.
No, the mental condition wants to use the physical condition to bind you to the idea of self. The physical is not up to fucking anything, really. I would say the mental is presenting it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that when I feel pain, it makes
Yes.
me it's my pain, and it makes me well, it doesn't make me anything, but
let's just say here, so something says it's your pain. Now that's not you. So that's going to affect the level of suffering, because it's the pain is pain. It's an event that's happening. The my pain enters into a suffering level where that pain is not going to be seen as what's happening. It's going to be seen as it could keep happening, and it's going to be the new norm or whatever. So it just breathes a lot of anxiety into the situations based on the pain of the event. Yeah. So it's good to realize where that's coming from. It's not the physical. The physicalness is where the pain seems to trigger. Obviously, they say it's all the brain anyway, but let's just say it's the physical, and then the suffering is an add-on, yeah, which is the mental, and usually you can see the pain is going to be used to give meaning to suffering through the bridge of my, yeah. So now my pain leads to a suffering, yes.
yes.
Yeah, so you just see that. So, and of course, the head hopes by seeing that I'm going to get out of the pain. And then you see the desire of all that, and you just see what goes on. You don't have to come to a conclusion. It'll bring a conclusion to you. Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of pains. Mostly everyone does. I've had a lot of physical pain in this life and in my days from the damage that I got by making a decision based on self one night led to me getting run over. So that's left a lasting mark on my physical condition. I can't do much about it. So other than not take it too seriously, really. So yeah, you just again, I like the idea of AA where it says you learn to fit yourself around circumstances and try to instead of trying to fit the circumstances around you. So then, how did I do that? Well, when they started making electric bikes, I bought an electric bike because that gave me newfound mobility that I didn't have because I couldn't walk that long. Yeah. And these things, that's what happened. So I fit myself around the situation and I did the best I could. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's way intimate. It's difficult because the underlying desire is to get out, usually. Yeah, of course. We want to get out of pain. We want to get out of this. And sometimes that infuriates the pain because there's not an acceptance of it. You want it to be different before you even accepted it as pain. Yeah? Sometimes you got to sit through shit and go through it. And then you'll get a different flavor when the suffering starts getting developed. You will. You can tell the difference between pain and suffering. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The suffering obviously usually extends a lot longer. And once it gets momentum, it starts making up pain, really. Yeah. So I don't know, man. There's no rote answer of non-duality. It's how there's a fitting around the circumstances you find yourself in. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of trying to fit them around you, which is, I don't want pain. I want this to stop. I don't ever do that shit. I just, I wake up sometimes, it's way off, and I just go, well, I'm going to give it some time. And then usually it comes back to a more manageable condition. And if it didn't, I'd give it a day and then I'd do what maybe I needed to do the next day. I don't know. I don't have any plan. That's how I react. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far, so good today. Yeah. So then I can roam around, do shit on it and everything like that. If I didn't, I'd have to find help probably somehow and whatever that would entail. Yeah. Yeah. But how I travel through it is much lighter than how I used to travel through it. Yeah. Yeah. It's easier to deal with pain than suffering, tell you the truth.
Right.
Usually pain can be, and you can distract yourself from pain, and you can distract yourself from suffering. There's a famous story with one of my sponsors where he had an accident where he got 70% burns all over his body, which is a pretty attractive thing for the head to really suffer from. Yeah. The pain is just pulsating. And he was in a hospital feeling sorry for himself and shit. And then a nurse came in and said, "Hey, there's a young kid who's an alcoholic on the floor. Would you mind talking to him?" And then he said to himself, "Why doesn't she see I'm suffering here? Just leave me alone," and shit like that. But because he was in AA, he acquiesced. They brought the kid in. They talked for a few hours. When the kid left, he realized he hadn't felt his pain for a few hours. Yeah. So then he called up the nurse and said, "Get every fucking addict and alcoholic you can find in here," because he found out what worked to distract his head from the pain and the suffering. So, yeah. Yes. So when it says my pain, that's not you saying it, bro. Don't recognize the guest as the master. Yeah, when it pontificates, this is my pain, that's not you saying it. Yeah, there isn't a you in there called Jack that can go this way or that way. Yeah, so I don't know if that hit the answer, but whatever. That's how I see. Yeah.
Yeah, it did, Paul. Thank you.
I mean, everyone would like to live free from shit. Has that come to pass? Probably not. So what's the next best option? Traveling lighter through whatever is going to happen. Yeah? Yeah. Maybe you live in magical thinking, but life will slap you into some reality, and then as it appears, and then maybe this idea of living, pain free, you'll just realize you can travel lighter through whatever life has in store for us. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the art of living. The art of living isn't making it exactly the way you think it should be, but responding to how it is. Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. I try to put a regular shoe on this bad foot, and I end up just having a lot of shoes I never wear. Luckily, I get them at thrift stores, so it's only $5. But I'm going, I think this is going to work, and it doesn't work. The foot's got a weird shape, so. So yeah. Anyone else, Mike?
No, that's it for today, Jack. Paul, excuse me. Thank you, Jack. Sorry.
It's it for today, Jack. Okay. Yeah. Remember, we're just the cod salesman. I'm just selling cod. COD. See if I feel like it'll help your whole condition if you just eat a little cod every day. It doesn't matter, grill it, raw, it doesn't matter. Send me your recipes. As long as it's cod, that's all I care about. So, hey, I'm going to say goodbye, eh? So we got Jack G on his rocking chair. Michael, Stacy, thank you for your service, Mike. John in Florida, there he is. Nice to see you, my friend. We got Kerry, my traveling companion. Nice to see you, Kerry. We got Nanette. She's keeping that candle lit for me. Thank you. Yes. Here they are, Jacob and the Queen of the Hudson Valley, Alex. Yes, there they are. Wonderful things can happen through Zoom. That's very nice. Kana, nice to see you, my friend. See, you didn't get rid of the cabinets, you just covered them up. That's pretty good. That's good. Marty, nice to see you, Marty.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, very good. Yeah. So, Mickey, as always, nice to see you, Mickey. We got Jason from dropping in from Southern Cal. Nice to see you, Jason.
In a long time. It's really good to see you, man. Thanks for your share today.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
thank
see you again.
Nice to see you, yes.
Yeah.
We got Chris, there he is. Nice to see Chris. All's well, bro? Yeah. Good, good. Oliver in Berlin. Oliver always stokes the fire. That's nice. I like it. Greta to everyone. Nice to see Greta. Nina, as always, yes, she's smiling. Yes. And Greta also, if you have want to have any of these people like Nina or someone, I'm sure they'd offer you their number. Nina's down in LA. But yeah, we can do it, I guess, through the chat with Michael, right? I don't know how you do it.
I did. I already sent my number to Greta.
Oh, there you
Yeah, I
go.
got
Yeah.
Nina's number and Annette. Thank you.
Oh,
Because I
great.
loved her question, because I was so happy she talked, because it helped me to have her ask that question and to have you answer. And also Jack, because I have the pain problem myself. So that today was fantastic. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Roman, there he is. Nice to see you, Roman. Yeah. There's Greta with the cat in the cupboard. Yes, that sounds like a little fable there. Greta with the cat in the cupboard. We got non-Steve. Yes, not Steve from San Diego. Sarah, Al from Vegas. James. Miranda, that's James. Sandra, Housel. Yes, nice to see Sandra again. Bruce, as always. We got Mia, Annette.
Hey.
We got this James. He's here live. There he is. Nice to see you, James. Yes. We got Andrew. I don't know. I think. Wait a minute. There's another. Oh, Lynn. Nice to see Lynn again from the other night, or what was it, last night or somewhere?
It was last night. Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Sometime long ago. Last night. All right. We got Jack and Mickey and everyone. Hey, thanks everyone. Fantastic. Thank you. We're around again. All the events, live or Zoom, are on Zen Bitch Slap events. You go there. Okay. I'll see you guys Saturday, I think. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.
Love you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.